You are listening or watching Real Conversations with Jacob Young. Real Conversations is sponsored by Boys Town. Boys Town has been saving children, healing families for over 100 years. Also brought to you by Lane Frost Brand. Check out all their incredible gear from hats to hoodies. You can always keep it frosty by using code JACOB15 to save 15% on anything and everything Lane Frost Brand. Lane Frost Brand, made for the champion in you. Now, there are a few living legends in all branches of sports. Since the Stanley Cup Finals just wrapped up, it seems only fitting to have a hockey icon as my guest this week. He began his NHL career with the Chicago Blackhawks from 1988 to 1996. He also played for the Phoenix Coyotes, Philadelphia Flyers, Los Angeles Kings, and the San Jose Sharks. In 2007, he became the third American-born player to score 500 goals. He's a two-time U.S. Olympian, and that's just a few of the many honors, accolades, and awards he's earned during his 20 NHL season career. Following his time on ice, he became a familiar TV sports commentator. He's an author, and he's even tried his hand at acting. And of course, I'm talking about, this week, the one, the only, hockey legend Jeremy Roenick. You know what time it is. It's time to keep it real on Real Conversations with Jacob Young.
That's awesome.
Jeremy, welcome to the podcast.
Jacob? Hey, what a nice little intro. That was very, very impressive. Thank you very much for telling me all my accolades. Sometimes I forget about those after so many years of playing. It's crazy.
Well, you have quite a few. You know, and I don't throw around the word legend lightly. When you hear that word and somebody says that, how does that make you feel?
Well, usually when people say that to me, my usual response is I'm only a legend in my own mind, because, legends, or I say, well, legends are dead, aren't they? But I take that as I try to kind of downplay the accolade that they gave me. And even though I love to be referenced as a legend, there's so many things I think that go into a legend. And, I just felt like I was somebody that really enjoyed what I did. I did it with a lot of passion, with a lot of energy. And I think I left my mark on the game in a lot of different ways. And I still try to leave my mark on people's, people's everyday, on, whether it's a chance meeting on the street or doing a great podcast like yours, Jacob. I'm really excited to be on with you. Obviously, your accolades are the list is long, and what you've been able to accomplish. So, I like the word legend, but I take that very humbly and just say I just love life, man. I just love what I do and try to put everything into it, and it's worked for me so far.
Well said, my friend. You are known, and you were just kind of touching on this, you're very generous, and you're very generous with your time and attention that you give to your fans. Where does that appreciation for your fans come from?
Well, it stems from way back when I was 7 years old, and it's a specific moment, and I'll never forget the moment. And it is something that has lived with me for 46 years. And I lived in Hartford, Connecticut. I was 7 years old. I was playing in a little mite league, and the Hartford Whalers were my favorite team, and Gordie Howe was on the team. And I remember standing, coming off the ice, because we're excited that the Hartford Whalers are coming on the ice after us at our local arena. And, all the little kids hanging up over the glass, watching the Hartford Whalers skate by, and in awe of their presence and what they could do on skates and shooting the puck and how hard they can shoot it. And halfway through the practice, Gordie Howe came and dumped a bunch of snow on top of my head. Right. And then he skated around and came back and rustled my hair and gave me a wink. And there was like 10 or 12 kids that were lined up in the glass next to me. And he didn't do it to those kids. He did it to me. And granted, I was just one of the lucky ones. He didn't pick me out for a reason. But I had Mr. Hockey, one of the greatest players in the history of sports, paid attention to me. He rubbed snow on my head. He acknowledged my presence. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Gordie Howe dumped snow on my head. He winked at me. It was for that 30 seconds, 20 seconds. It was me and Gordie Howe. And I just remember the feeling that I got looking at my friends, the big smile, ran to my parents, told my parents what happened. I told my teachers, I told my, anybody that I could. And I'm 52 years old and I'm still telling the story. So I realized at a very young age that people of influence, your hockey heroes or your heroes in general, can really have an impact on your life and can create a story for yourself, can create good feelings within inside you and create so much positive energy and confidence, but also, it can do to others, right? So when I got to be a pro, I tried to do that same and create that same experience for as many people as I possibly can, just by giving a little bit of my attention, whether it was reaching through a camera hole and grabbing some popcorn out of a kid's bag that wasn't expecting it during a game, taking his hat off and put it on, or whether it was throwing a puck over the glass and giving them a souvenir, or if it was just looking at them and winking at them. And Jacob, I'm a firm believer in acknowledgement, right? Say thank you, acknowledge their presence, because in pro sports, and I think with you, what you have seen in your acting world, on Broadway, if people don't come pay their hard-earned money to buy a ticket to come watch what you do, you know, I'm just going to be a local beer league guy with a designated beer, buyer, at a local rink, and you're going to be at home with your friends doing, play acting in your house or creating whatever. So, in saying that, the fan is very important, and they are the most important parts of what you and I have done. And if you don't acknowledge them, at least give them appreciation that you appreciate their interest in you, or at least their love of what we do, and us entertaining them and saying thank you for that, then you're missing an opportunity in life that's really
Yeah.
important. So that's how I've always looked at it.
Beautiful, man. I have to say, even in a situation where a fan is showing up to see you, just by those simple acts, it is a mentorship in a way. You're mentoring them potentially for the rest of their life. I mean, your need and desire to return what you had learned is so
Yep,
profound.
sure.
That's
Well,
and it can happen in just a second.
100%. It doesn't have to be long. And to tell you the truth, we can have inspiring situations and inspire people without even knowing we're doing it, just by being nice and friendly. I always go back to that the quote that one of my very close friends and one of my most favorite athletes in the world, Charles Barkley, said when he said, "I'm not a role model,"
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
Um, there's not many times that I disagree with Charles Barkley, but I will disagree with him in this aspect because we are role models. Kids are influential. They watch what you do. They emulate how you. I mean, I used to be in the driveway, and I was emulating, Rick Middleton and Wayne Gretzky, in my driveway. Right, I'm saying I'm them, and you find that you try to play like them or dress like them. You are a role model in in some sort of way, and you do have an influence. And hey, listen, I'm not the perfect person. I have a very controversial background. I'm very honest. I say what I think. I think what I say, and some people don't like that. And unfortunately, I'm in your face, but I am definitely I, I'm definitely honest with you, and I think being a role model in that aspect, where you can teach kids to be forthright, to give their opinions, to be honest, and to be a stand-up guy. It's important. So I don't mind
I
being a role
think
model.
I think it's more important than ever. I
one
feel
Hundred
that
percent,
a lot of people are hiding behind all sorts of things this day and age and are
one hundred
afraid to
percent.
speak their truth and their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a
And you
lot of
also
people follow the pack.
exactly, and especially today in social media, with technology today, with kids that have the ability to correspond and to communicate without the eye to eye contact, the face to face contact, the firm handshake, the what we grew up on. It's more, we've seen the deterioration of the basic needs and characteristics that we need to be successful in life.
Right.
And even more, you're right, more and more today. I mean, I've looked at teenagers that give me a fish handshake and don't look you in the eye, and I'm like, we can't, we got to try to change this curve. And it's all about communication. It's all about talking. It's all about getting in front of people and having a conversation. We don't have that enough, and social media has been a big problem in that aspect.
Absolutely, 100%. And mentoring the youth in that way. I feel it's more important than ever. I work with Boys Town, of course, and
It's
these
great.
kids, of course, are have come from low income families or no families at all, and have been given up, and they're breathing new life into it. But what they do over there is exactly that. They take away those devices, not because it's a
Yep.
punishment. They just take it away. It's like,
Yep.
what you don't have
Yep.
to know about right now is not going to help you, gain emotionally as a
100%.
human.
Yeah,
So,
and it's great. It's great you support such a great organization. I've heard of it. They do great things. And again, anybody that can help bring people to their peak, it's just fantastic.
now, JR, I know you have a show. It hits hard on
Yeah.
nofilter.net. Can you tell our
Mhm.
listeners a little bit about that if they want to check that out?
So nofilter.net is a streaming network that myself and Eric Burns, the XMLB player, kind of started, and a couple people out of Silicon Valley here in San Francisco. And we're really just going out and, again, doing what we were just saying, being able to come on to a live platform, have a conversation, and allow the viewer, and I hate to say fan, but the watcher and the viewer, to come on and have an opinion and talk. My Hits Hard is mostly about hockey and the hockey season and what's going on with hockey, but it also we go to life's kind of ups and downs and the things that are happening in this world. And sometimes people don't want to talk about the truth, or don't want to tell their opinions for fear of shame, getting shamed, getting canceled, having an argument. When I played the game hard, I hit hard when I played, and I think the only way that we're going to get better as a country and as a community and as people is to have a conversation and listen to both sides. Because unfortunately, in this day and age, if you don't have the same views, the same opinions, the same beliefs, you get canceled, and they close the curtain, and either they call you a racist, or they say you're something else, and they just stop the conversation.
Yeah,
And conversation is what has made this world great. And it's why
right.
why we live in America. It's why we live in America, because we have our own opinions. Doesn't mean that doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean you're right. But there might be some commonality that we can come to say, what, I never thought about it that way. I've had that conversation. I've convinced other people to see things different, and other people have convinced me to see things different. And on Hits Hard, that's what we do. We hit
That's great.
hard. We tell the truth, and we have conversation.
Yeah, what happened to the classic political debate, around the dinner
Mhm.
table? That just doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't, and it's a shame. And um, like I said, you see people, like I was watching a video the other day, and it was of a rally, and there was a gentleman that had a whistle in his hand, and the interviewer just wanted to have a conversation, just ask a question, and they just blew the whistle. They just blew the whistle. Wouldn't talk, wouldn't answer the question, wouldn't give his opinion, just blew a whistle as loud as they possibly can, and that's their answer. You get nothing achieved by just trying to be controversial, or just trying to be annoying, or just trying to block off an opinion. Opinions are what makes this country great. Hey, listen, I'm a staunch conservative. Okay, fiscally conservative, but socially liberal.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm proud of that. Okay, what's happening in this country, where people aren't informed because they will refuse to listen, they won't watch, they won't do their research, and then they won't have a conversation. And when you're not informed properly, you becomes the division and the hatred. And unfortunately, in this the best country in the world, we've never been more divided. And I think it starts with our leaders. I think it starts right with our leaders, right at the top. The way that they act in Washington, and I'm talking both sides,
Yeah,
both sides. The way they act in Washington and the way that they are supported by the media has gotten everybody in a frenzy.
absolutely. It trickles all the way down in professional sports, in entertainment.
Hmm.
You can't have a political view if it's not the view they want in entertainment. Otherwise,
Correct.
like you said, you're canceled. Suddenly,
Mhm.
you're not woke enough, and you're not open enough. And that's never been the case because I grew up in an industry that's always been controversial, and
Yeah,
and to suddenly have people say you only can believe one way, and that's the only way. Otherwise, you're going to
yeah,
be prosecuted and you're going to lose your job.
yep.
It's
Well,
horrible.
hypocrisy has reached a level of monumental proportion that I never even thought that the word hypocrisy could go as deep beyond the depths of a definition in my life than what we see today. And again, it starts with our leaders, and it goes right on down to to the kids. And until we learn to have an adult conversation, and one without yelling and screaming, without blowing whistles, without calling each other names, nothing is ever going to be achieved. And by the way, be get re, report the facts rather than distort the viewpoint, right?
Yeah,
I mean, talking, it really, I'm such a patriot. I love this country, and it just
me too.
kills me to see what's happening in this world. It really is terrible.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
to break the ice a little bit, because we got a little serious there for a moment, I recently heard a comedian joke that in hockey, the players dress up and hit each other in the face. He described it as the Academy Awards on ice.
It's probably a good, yeah. It's a well, seeing how Will Smith has turned the Academy Awards in this year. Yes, hockey is definitely the on ice Academy Awards. Yes, there's no question
Yeah.
about it. Hey, listen, it's not for the faint-hearted, right? Hockey is a very in your face, very brutal sport, and it takes, the talent is overwhelming to be able to do what these kids do on little blades on frozen water, with guys chasing them with other sticks, trying to beat them up, and then trying to do what they do. Without question, the most talented athletes in the world, in my opinion.
Absolutely. 100%. Now, we talked a little bit about what inspired you to be so gracious with your fans. Now, you grew up playing hockey. What did you like most about playing when you were a kid that inspired you to make
Mhm.
your hockey career?
I think number one is being able to do to go at speeds that are not, your normal everyday on your feet sort of. Um, to be on skates, to be on ice, you're able to go faster. And when you're a kid, you like to go fast, right?
Yeah.
Mom, Dad, look how fast I can run, right? Well, when you're on
Hmm.
the ice, look how fast I can go, right? So it almost becomes an enjoyable, change of pace. And then all of a sudden, then you have the puck and the stick and scoring goals and the competitiveness. And then once you get into the depth of things, and not just feeling that, listen, I'm not on my feet. I'm on skates. I'm going fast. I'm doing this thing. This is fun. Then it comes to be, it's such a creative and very difficult sport to have to play, because we have to learn a whole new mode of transportation, right?
Hmm.
And I think hockey builds character. I think it builds durability, and it teaches you how to be competitive and also be a good winner and a good loser. I mean, it definitely is one of those sports that are humbling, because it's not easy. It's not easy to play, and it's not for everybody. You can't go into the backyard, Jacob, and just pick up an ice hockey game.
Right.
Maybe a road hockey game, but not an ice hockey game. Whereas in the back, you can go do a baseball game in the backyard. You can go do a pickup basketball game, football. But hockey, you need certain certain things and ice time and certain equipment to be able to play an actual game. And I think, people that grow up playing it, respect the fact that it's not an easy sport to be a part of.
Yeah, it's not. I'm horrible on ice skates, so.
Yeah.
And speaking of sports, professional sports, though, it's a very difficult field to break into. And you had a talent, of course, but did you have a backup plan if the career didn't work out, or were you always like, I'm 100% it?
I never thought of being anything but an athlete. So my backup plan was being a football player. My backup plan was being a baseball player or a soccer player, because for me it was all sports. I mean, I was the sports junkie. I was the athlete of my school, no matter what it was. Seemed to be very good at all sports. I was very lucky to give the God-given gift of coordination and eye-hand coordination, and just the ability to find a sport, learn a sport. So I was always going to be some sort of athlete. I just didn't know which one it was going to be. I was a better soccer player than I was a hockey player, but soccer back in the '80s wasn't the most popular sport in America. So
Yeah,
I went with hockey.
good
Hmm.
choice. Well, as
Yeah.
we know, the Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup. What were some of your thoughts of this year's winner?
Well, in a day and age where the game is so good and the parity is so even amongst the league, I mean, look at the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, going for their third championship in a row, and being in the finals, 4 or 5 times over the last 7 years. I mean, such an amazing team that
Hmm.
and championship team. I mean, they're a dynasty. They have become a dynasty. For the Colorado Avalanche to go through a playoff season that is as difficult as hockey playoffs are. Jacob, I'm telling you right now, you've heard the saying, the Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy in all of sports to win for many different reasons, which is why you see the celebration at the end of the road so, so just, just crazy and euphoric. Um, but Colorado Avalanche went through this playoff season losing 4 games.
Right.
4 games. They played almost as few games as you possibly can to reach that goal. And to me, that is such a dedication. That's a team that all came together at the right time with the same mindset, that did their job to an individual capacity, that allowed them to go through literally the hardest stretch of the year. And by the way, without being paid their salaries, because their
Mhm.
salaries stop in April, um, but play their best hockey then. Colorado showed why they deserve to win, and probably that it was a couple years too late. But 5 years ago, they were the worst team in the National Hockey League, with one of the worst seasons that we have seen in the modern era.
Mhm.
And to be able to turn it around with a lot of the same players and win a Stanley Cup was really inspiring to me.
Right. Now, from when you played to now, what have you seen that has been the biggest part? You touched a little bit on
Yeah.
the players are just better and better, but what's changed? Is it for the good? Is it for the bad?
Well, I think it's for the good. I think if you look at a lot of things, when I grew up back in the late '80s, early '90s, it was a much different style of game. It was rough. It was more fighting. It was gorier. It was more of a tough mentality. Though the players were great, nowadays these kids that are playing in the game today, they have been bred since they're 7 or 8 years old to be professional athletes, right? They've been drinking protein shakes since they're 8. They've been in the gym since they were 8. They've been on the ice getting trained in one sport since they were 8. And that's why you see these kids are in the most unbelievable shape. They look like they're all in high school. They are just well bred machines. I didn't see an ab on a hockey player until I was about 26. The guys that I played against look like they were 40 and should be in a prison somewhere. I mean, they were
Yeah.
badass. Not We weren't in shape. We didn't work out the way that they do now. We'd go an hour and a half on the ice. We'd go in, do a couple sets of bench press, do some push-ups, some sit-ups, and go to the bar and lift 16 ounces. That
Yeah.
was the day. That was the days back then. Now they don't do that, right? Now it's protein shakes, it's video games, and not
And kale.
poker. And, yeah, exactly. So they're bred. They are well bred machines nowadays, and you can tell they're faster, they're stronger, they're in better shape, they're more talented, and it's a hard game to play. It's a hard game to crack these days.
Yeah. I had the guys from Missing Curfew on recently. And, I always ask that question, what has changed? And one of the things they said that stands out too is, they do blow the whistle a little bit more often. Now in the finals, they said, that it's not as much. Would you agree that that's probably one of the things that have changed? I mean, you said it's more brutal when you were younger, but are they blowing the whistle too often?
Um, I think the game has changed. I think the rules have changed to kind of match where we are in society. They've taken the fighting away a lot. I think the rules have changed to where more penalties are called, because whether it's slashing on hands so I do think the whistle blows a lot more, because they are trying to create a game that allows the talent to prosper, right? So no hooking, no holding, no slashing on the hands. Throwing the puck out is a penalty. There's just a lot of things that have changed in the rules that have allowed the talented players to let their talent, prosper. So, but the game is great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, every game, no game is going to be perfect. It's all going to have its flaws at certain points. We still like to have human error involved in it with referees and stuff like that. But I think the NHL has done a pretty good job of putting the best product on the ice over the last 4 or 5 years.
Are you the type of person, when you were playing, did you ever experience nervousness or get nervous, tension before a game?
The big games, I got nervous in the big games, the playoff games. I mean, I've had to run to the bathroom before a game, and have thrown up all over the bathroom 5 minutes before I go out for a game. But then as soon as I get on the ice, as soon as I I hit somebody or got hit, those nerves went away, because that was the first thing that I did. That was the first thing that I would do when a game started. Is I would either hit somebody real hard or get hit real hard. One of the two would get me right into the zone, and the butterflies would fly away. But I wanted to win so bad, not only for myself, but for my teammates and for my city, that the playoffs came. And when we were in these big games, the games that meant, whether we were going to move on or whether we were going to continue on, or end the season and go golfing, I never wanted it to end. So just the anxiety and anticipation and nerves just sometimes got the better of me. That ended up in the destruction of a toilet bowl every once in a while. But
Yeah. Did
I
you
think
ever
it
have
happens because
any?
you care. Yeah,
Sure.
you care. Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you ever come up with any ways to help soothe those nerves? Did you ever have any way of
Music,
self-soothing?
music, music.
Yeah.
Big music guy. I would listen to disco. I'd listen to a lot of disco and 70s music, and the Gap Band, and
Yeah.
would always be a big soother for me. And um, music usually got me settled, energized, would get my mind away from the task at hand. And that usually was I always had control of the radio. Jacob, couldn't touch the radio.
Yeah.
I would dance in the locker room to kind of get everybody distracted from what's going on, and have them laugh at me. Just keep an upbeat kind of mentality, right? And a
Yeah.
fun mentality, because we're playing a sport, so you have to have fun. Yes, it is a business, but I was always told by my dad, it's a sport. You're supposed to have fun. When you stop having fun, you got to find something else to do. It becomes a
Right.
job. And
Right.
I always tried to keep everybody loose. So music and dancing and sometimes being a little goofy kind of help me get over things.
Well, speaking of that, because I did a little snooping around on your Instagram, and if anybody who's out there, you can follow Jeremy at Jeremy Roenick Hockey on Instagram. And you're dancing. You did some boogie woogie in recently in a
Yeah.
post.
Yeah, I did. I went to one of my favorite restaurants in the world down in Fort Lauderdale. It's Cafe Martirano, and Steve Martirano is a good friend of mine. He's the chef, he's the DJ,
Yeah.
and it's one of the most famous, fun restaurants in the world. I'm gonna tell you a story that happened to me back in the early 2000s. The Philadelphia Flyers were playing in Florida. We go down to Cafe Martirano, and I used to dance to Party Train from the Gap Band in the locker room, and
Yeah.
that was kind of my
Okay.
jam. So the whole team was at Cafe Martirano, and we're all hanging out. The music had gone down. We'd had dinner. Now we're hanging out. It's become a nightclub, and our trainer goes over to Steve behind the kitchen and says, "Hey, play Gap Band Party Train and watch JR go." So he starts playing Party Train. As soon as the song starts, everybody looks at me. They're like, and there you go, JR, there you go. So what I did is I got up on the bar, and everybody pulled their plates off the bar and cleared the bar for me to go do my dance. And I strut down the bar, and I'm doing this dance. I'm going down, I'm doing a spin, and I go spin, and I come up, and a fan hits me right in the forehead, right here,
Oh no.
and cuts me, and I have a little bit of blood that comes down. But just like every performer has to do, I
The show
finished the
must go
set.
on.
Show must go on. I finished the set. I finished the song. I jumped down, and I wiped the blood. Everybody's clapping for me. I
Yeah.
again make a fool out of myself, but still, that I entertained. Right, I got it done. So the next
Yeah.
day, next day at the rink, I had this big welt on my head and a little cut. And my coach goes, "What happened to you? What happened?" And I said, "I got hit by a fan." And they said, "Well, did you get his number? Did you get his name?" I said, "No, not a rah rah fan, a
Like, yeah.
fan."
Like a
Yeah,
ceiling fan.
yeah, the ceiling fan. Being JR, he's like, he just walked away going like this. Figures, just walked
Oh,
away.
that's funny.
Right?
Yeah, I was recently with Roger Clemens in Sedona, and he has music in common. You probably have heard it. He likes to do
So,
karaoke, and he calls himself DJ No Request. So nobody's
yep.
allowed to make any requests. Nobody's allowed to
Nope.
control it.
Nope.
But
I've been a part.
but
I've been a part of many of Roger's karaoke parties, both at his house and at golf tournaments. Roger's a very good friend of mine, and if you ever talk to him again, if you ask him who the best karaoke besides him is, I will guarantee you he says me.
I'm
Guarantee you.
gonna. He just sent me a text message saying that we're gonna win some awards for our karaoke. So I think we got a little challenge going on here, Jeremy.
I'm in. I'm in. I'm in. I'm all up for the challenge.
Now, I also noticed on your Instagram recently that you just celebrated your 29th wedding anniversary to your beautiful
30,
wife. 30
30,
now? Okay, 30.
30.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, what's
30.
what's the secret to having a lasting marriage?
Number one, having a good woman. That's number one. Having a woman that has really good morals, is durable, is strong, who is who's very compassionate, especially when you're married to a hockey player. Um, she keeps me in line. There's no question about it. But she's understanding. So for me, having a good woman that has all those features has allowed me to stay. Because trust me, I probably should not have been married for 30 years, being in the lifestyle that I have had for 30 years, and I'm not afraid to say it or admit it, and I say it to her. But also, I've learned that you have to pick your battles. You have to learn how to keep your mouth shut, and you have to learn. I learned that you have to keep it fresh every day, and um, there's not a time that I don't go past my wife, and if I'm within arm's reach, you know, I touch her. I make sure she knows I'm thinking about her, and but I had to learn that over time, and I learned that because she kept me on a leash that was long enough for me to be me, but also that kept me close to home. And
Yeah,
I thank her for that. I thank her for that.
that's beautiful, man. If we all could be so lucky. I'm working on it. I'm at 15 years,
Good for
and it's
you.
true.
It's hard
I
these
married
days.
a
It's
good
hard.
woman. Yeah, it sure is. I mean, everybody I know, including my brothers and sisters, have all had kids and divorced.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
that's just something I never wanted in my life. My parents were divorced, so I didn't want to relive that. So I actually, speaking of Fort Lauderdale, one of my good friends I used to work with for many years, Ken Schreiner, he lives in Fort Lauderdale. I'm sure he's been to that restaurant many times. You were mentioning,
Hmm.
and he would be like, "You don't need to worry about getting married, Jacob. You just need to worry about acting." And and so, but I gotta say, having the right person in your life that supports you and understands your career and your career
Hmm.
path, it's everything.
Especially nowadays, because life is not easy. It's difficult, and sometimes you need that buffer. You need that person that will listen and that will give you the proper advice, not just say what you need to hear or what you want to hear, but hear what is, the truth. And yeah, it's a tough thing to do these days. And by the way, divorce isn't the worst thing in the world. People just grow different ways and change, but that doesn't mean that you can't still, you know, be kind and do the right things at some point, and not, again, goes back to the way you treat people, and hatred, anger, all that stuff. It's crazy.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right.
Mhm.
Now you've guest starred a few times on TV. Ghost Whisperer. How did you get the bug for acting?
Well, I think if you watched me as I became a pro athlete, I was always that person that when the camera was on, I I livened up, right? My eyes, I got more energy. I love to be the center of attention. I love to entertain people, and I think because of my persona on camera, whether it was doing interviews or whether it was on, on the ice, I, I think I think people saw that I had that ability, that a camera didn't give you the Cindy Brady, expression, like,
Yeah.
when the red light went on, and get nervous. So I always had a good relationship with the camera, and I just had these opportunities. I mean, I was on Arliss. I think was the athlete with the most appearances on Arliss. I did, as you said, the Ghost Whisperer. I actually, one of my first things that I ever did, I did a Days of Our Lives cameo, way back in the day, on
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
soap opera. And
Sure.
I did a show called Hack. I did a lot of different things that I really enjoyed, and I did um, David Boreanaz's show a couple times, which,
Yeah.
one of the best shows of all time. And I
Sure.
just
Sure.
I like being able to, go outside the box and kind of maybe be somebody that I'm really not, right? And so that's fun
Right.
too.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I think when you are a superstar, and you're a superstar in so many people's eyes, not only just because of your professional abilities, but a superstar in front of people, like we talked about being a
Mhm.
superstar with fans. I think it really lends itself very easily to that entertainment facet.
Sure. Well, look what you've been able to do. Okay, you like to be an Emmy nominated actor, Emmy winning actor. You've had to be able to come out of yourself, right? Change who you are and become somebody else, to do something different. And I think that's really cool. And to have that creativity in your mind, to be able to transform yourself and to entertain somebody, and to actually, like, draw people into the things you say, the things you do, the things, how you act. And that's why they call it acting. It's people don't understand how difficult it is to act, to be on stage, to be in front of a camera. It's a very difficult thing that, is hard to master, and you were able to get to the top of it. I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment. It's truly remarkable watching what people like you have been able to do, right? And I've always been, I want to do that too, right? Like, I want to do everything, right? It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, you have pretty much done everything, and you've had an amazing career. What's next on your to-do list, Jr.?
So I do a lot of different things. I just started a whiskey company that's launching this month. It's called Whiskey in the Wild. It's a chocolate whiskey that you'll be seeing coming
Oh,
out. You'll be
nice.
seeing it all over my social media. It's one of those high end, true, beautiful spirits that will celebrate your day. I call it Whiskey Wild because I want to celebrate what your wild was. What was your wild day? Did you go on a wild hike? Did you go on a wild, bike ride? Was your day at work wild, and sitting at home, with your better half, or just by yourself, and be able to enjoy a really fine glass of chocolate whiskey, which is, I'm telling you, so I'm very excited about that aspect. I own a couple different other companies that I'm associated with, a lot in golf, a golf ball company called Clear. A part of a golf green company called Celebrity Greens, which we make the best backyard synthetic greens in the world. Mark O'Mara is one of our spokespeople, as is Nick Faldo. Um, and I'm part owner of a esports company called NACL, where we have it's a collegiate league that these kids just they do in the esports world that I did and that you did on stage, that I did on the ice. It's an amazing thing. So I did and dabble a lot, and now I work in construction. I'm a salesperson in Chicago and San Diego. I have a great team. I'm a part of a team that I'm challenging different parts of my life and my brain, and I've become a salesperson. I never thought I'd have a real job. I don't need a real job, but again, it's challenging myself to stay active and to do different things, and then I do charity work and I do appearances and speaking engagements, and I'm not home much, but
Yeah.
I love living on the road. Yeah.
That's all right, man. My great grandfather always said, it was towards the end of his life. He said, if you stop wanting, you start dying. If
Yeah.
that need goes away,
Yeah.
then the end is near. And
Yeah.
I believe that full heartedly. You gotta go out there, and you can never be satisfied.
Well, I think you got to make a difference, and you got to make a difference in some aspect, right? And I've had people say the same thing: when you stop working, you start dying. So I don't know if I would consider what I do work, because I enjoy everything that I do. I don't do things unless I enjoy it. So I've learned to be able to do that. And by the way, I'm very lucky that I've put myself in a position where I can do what I enjoy and make. But I want to make a difference in people's lives. I really do. I do a lot for charity. I have a golf tournament in Chicago that we give a lot of money to different arms and charity legs. So um, whether it's just doing hockey camps and helping kids learn the game of hockey, or, like I said, doing one of these podcasts with somebody like you, making somebody laugh, giving them stories, and making them forget about maybe something that they want to forget about for 45, 50 minutes of their day.
Awesome. Let me know how I could be of help if any of your golf tournaments that come up. I play golf myself, and I get
Oh, you
around.
are?
In fact,
What's your
I
handicap?
met. Oh well, I haven't done it this year. I haven't checked my handicap this year. I don't
All right.
play. I haven't played that frequent this year, but I typically, I'll shoot in the 80s.
It's great. That's
It's
amazing. That's
I'm never gonna get
amazing.
any better. I'm never gonna get any better than that, though. Like, it's never. I've realized I'm okay with that, because I'm an athlete myself. I was a wrestler. I state champion, and I wrestled for the USA team for freestyle,
Awesome.
and I realized, I was like, I can beat this game. I can get after it. I know I can do it. I can be one of the best. And I finally had to give up on that idea. That idea
It's
went out the
humbling.
window a long time ago. Yeah.
It's humbling for sure. But hey, listen, your 80s and your handicap and my handicap would be a good partner. So maybe we'll team up one day in a tournament. That'd be great.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I actually, one of them that I've gone to the Mariano Rivera one a couple of times. I've had Ron Duguay on the podcast, and I met him there.
Isn't he a beauty?
He's a
He's a
great
beauty.
guy. Such an awesome dude. We
Yeah,
had the
he
time
is a
of our
beauty.
lives.
He's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorites. I've spent a lot of time with Ron over the last year and a half, doing a lot of different events, and he's just, I'll tell you, he keeps everything on edge. That's for sure. It's fun.
Yeah, he does. Now, everybody on my podcast takes a ride in the Jacob Young time machine. What advice would you give teenage Jeremy Roenick?
Oh man, well, there's a big. I mean, she's so many. I mean, I've made so many mistakes in my life that I can't even go down the list. But I think number one, you gotta follow your dreams. Everybody has to have dreams and has to have goals, right? And if you don't set those goals, or don't give yourself something to strive for, to achieve, you're gonna find yourself spinning your wheels and going into nowhere. Having direction is really important, and And there's certain times when I didn't have direction, where I just literally didn't have a goal. And, I told you already, love what you do, be passionate about what you do, give everything that you could possibly do to what you do. I always say to kids, you can work as hard as you want, and you can tell everybody that you've done everything that you possibly can do to be successful, or to get a good grade, or to get the job done, or to make a sale, or to do whatever. You can tell people whatever you want. Okay, you can lie to people, you can tell them stories, you can tell them what they want, but there's always one person that you're never ever going to be able to lie to. And that's the person that you look in the mirror at before you go to bed. And
So true.
you will know when you look at yourself in the mirror, you ask yourself that question, you'll be able to answer yourself honestly. Yes, I did put the right time in. I did stay an extra 10, 15 minutes. I did talk to everybody. I did do my research. I did put in the time and do the hard work, because there's some people that when they get tired, they quit, or they go to the bathroom at 4:30 when the end of the day is at 5, and they don't get the job
Mhm.
done. There's so many different shortcuts. Shortcuts don't get you there faster, and they don't achieve what you want. Shortcuts usually end up being problems. So I would say to kids, don't take shortcuts unless you're driving someplace and you're trying to get to work early, and you're not breaking any laws. That's the only shortcuts that you take, is in travel. Besides that, everything you should do it to the fullest, and make sure that you do it properly the first time.
All the way. I love it. My last question I have for you, my sponsor, Boys Town, their motto is "He ain't heavy, he's my brother," meaning in our lives, at some point,
I
somebody has
lift them up.
carried us. Who's carried you?
I've had a lot of people that carried me. I've obviously, my mom and dad carried me, as growing up, and then my wife has carried me from the moment I um, left home to turn pro. And then it's the people that I played with. It's my coaches. Mike Keenan was my first coach in the National Hockey League. He taught me to play the game the right way. He threatened my whole career to play a game with bite, to play the game with passion, to play the game with physicality, with energy, or I wasn't going to play at all.
Mhm.
And for a guy who was 150 pounds, who was afraid to hit, who was nervous about getting hit, I learned that became a part of my persona, a big part of my game. But I never would have thought that if I didn't have somebody that convinced me to do it. And you know, obviously, you don't get to the where I've got to, or where you got to, without having the great people around you that support you, or are good wingmen. And I've had some great, Tony Monti, Chris Chelios, you know, Keith Kachuk. Some of these guys that I played with were Steve Larmer. I mean, I've had some great mentors that made sure that I learned the right way. I mean, I can go on forever, but
Yeah,
it goes back to your parents. It goes back to your parents,
exactly.
and they instilled some good values in me, and some bite, and some grit, which you have to have in today's world, Jacob, as we talked about earlier.
Yes, you do. Thank you for sharing that. And I also want to say thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a real honor to speak with you. And of course, I'm wishing you continued success in all of your ventures.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate the time, JR.
Yeah, it's awesome. Pleasure speaking with you, man. Hey, by the way, you introduced me as the legend. I'm gonna say thanks for letting me be on with a legend.
Oh, man. Well, I appreciate it. I'll humbly accept, as you would say. Um,
Beautiful.
hold tight for me 1 second. Well, that's about all the time that we have for today. But Real Conversations with Jacob Young is sponsored by Boys Town. At Boys Town, their slogan is "He ain't heavy, he's my brother." And for over 100 years, Boys Town has been saving children, healing families, and they're only one call away. And they're always there to help. Please go to boystown.org for all the details on how to access Boys Town's health services, or you can simply go to yourlifeyourvoice.org. If you are in crisis or you need immediate help, please call the trained counselors at the Boys Town National Hotline at 800-448-3000. Don't feel like talking on the phone? Text voice to 20121. Thanks for joining me. I'm Jacob Young. Until next time, love yourself and love each other.